Hey guys and girls, this is Ross at you, troubleshooting a 2016 C7 Corvette cooling fan issue. My particular issue, I was having some issues with my cooling fan not powering on. So the first thing I assumed was it was a fuse. So I looked in the rear in the fuse box, and I looked in under the hood in the fuse box. Did not find a fuse for my cooling fan. So now I'm like, man, I must be missing something. So I went out on the forums. I went out on several Corvette forums. Various Google searches. I could not find anybody who could show me where the cooling fan fuse was. So anyway, I just said, well, let me go ahead and let me tap one of my buddies who is has access to the service manuals. I was able to pull up this service manual here. This particular, there's other schematics, but this is the one I think, anybody who's dealing with a cooling fan or their power steering control module or alternator issues, anything like that, fuse, this is what they want. So I thought I'd make a quick video on how I was able to determine my problem, where to find it, and what do you need to do to remove it. So as you can see here, this particular schematic, GM has termed this the X50B, B as in Bravo, fuse block, and this is located under your hood. Okay, now in order to get to this particular fuse block, you're gonna need to remove your fuse box and your reservoir in order to get to this. Now, if I can back up a little bit, for those of you saying, oh, I'm crazy, there's a fuse underneath in your fuse box. We can't confuse that. Okay, there's two separate animals. So as you can see here, this is the inside of my fuse box. And then let me see if it'll zoom in here. 74, a lot of people confuse 74 with the engine cooling fan. But 74 is not the engine cooling fan fuse. This particular cooling fan is for your trans. The 2016 Z06 Corvette has two cooling fans for the transmission. You got one on the passenger side in the rear, and you got one on the driver's side in the rear. Okay, just in the rear quarter panel on both sides in the rear right there, you have two cooling fans. Okay. So this particular one is for the transmission cooling fan. So don't confuse that with the engine cooling fan. Okay, there's two separate animals. So 74, again, 74 is not the engine cooling fan. That's for the transmission, 74. But as I was saying, you're gonna need to remove your engine, your fuse box, and your coolant reservoir. I've removed mine already. Haven't had a chance to put it back because I wasn't able to make it to the dealer. But as you can see, I have my fuse block removed, and I have the actual connector that this plugs into removed. Damn, the computer done went to sleep. Anyway, so back to the schematic. As you can see here, in this particular schematic for this X50B fuse block, you have 4 terminals. X5 will be your power steering control module. X6 is the engine cooling fan, the G10 cooling fan motor. X7 will be your hot cable, the wiring harness or the harness, the hot positive cable running off your battery in the back of the vehicle, runs all the way to the front through the firewall and connects here. And then it branches off and goes to your starter, X7. And then X8 would be a wire that's running right to your alternator. Okay? So these two are 8mm, these two are 13mm. And once again, X5 is the power steering control module. As you can see there, power steering, rated at 100 amp. X6 is your cooling fan, rated at 80 amp. X7 will be your battery and starter motor. Okay, and then X8 is your generator, also known as alternator, and that's rated at 225 amp. Okay, so this is considered the fuse for your steering control module, for your cooling fan, and for the generator, okay? And I'll show you here in a minute how I determined that this was bad in a minute. But I wanted to go through some of the basics of where to find this thing and what is what, because you will not find this in your fuse box. And I went on several forums, Corvette forums, and no one could, say, not a video. I can find a video anyway, if of where to find this particular the fuse for the cooling fan. Okay, it's not a traditional, mini fuse or your regular fuses in the fuse box as some of us are used to seeing. Okay, so anyway, I'll show you a video here in a few minutes on how I determined that this was bad. But here, there you got it. This particular unit here, and I already have mine out. I'll show you here. This is it. It's bad. I need to replace it. But as you can see here, let me sit this down. As you can see here, I have, this would be X5, which is 8mm. This would be my power steering control module. Okay, this would be my cooling fan, which is rated 80 amp. This is the battery terminal. The battery cable goes here and then it branches off to your starter. And then this one will be for your alternator. Okay, these two are 13mm. You have a 13mm nut. These two I have 8mm nuts when you go to take it off. And then as you can see here in the back there, this will be through your two 7mm bolts through your firewall. Not your firewall, but your wheel housing. You had to take off your wheel, your rim, and you had to take off the wheel housing liner in order to get to these two 7mm bolts. And you'll notice them there right to the left, about midway up to the left of the wheel well. Once you take your liner out, you'll see two 7mm bolts, which will need to be removed before you can take this out. And right up above in the engine compartment there, once you take your reservoir and your fuse box out, you'll see this right by the latch, by the hood latch. Right before the hood latch, you'll see this laying there. There's a cover that goes over this, but once you remove that, you'll see these 4 terminals. But it's pretty self-explanatory for anybody who's trying to tackle a job like this. You'll see that. So hopefully this will help somebody. But give me a few minutes, and I'm gonna show you how I determined that this was bad. So anyway, a real quick test. I got my little test light here. A little something craftsman test light, whatever. And I just, got a little power running to normally where your AC, your hot coming in off the battery would be. And I have it grounded here too, just the battery, whatever. Just a little quick test. As you can see, I got power here off the alternator. Of course, I would have power here. Power there. Now watch when I tap my probe to the will be the cooling fan coming off the wiring harness. No power, none. And then I'm gonna have to reset. I forgot what this one is here, but as you can see, I got power on all 4 terminals except for the cooling fan. Power, power, power. Cooling fan, no power. So that tells me there's something going on with this bus here. This bus that is bad, and it's gonna need to be replaced because I should have power here. The only thing this thing does is just the distribution of power coming off the battery from the back of the car. Power, no power. Of course, I should have power here. Power, no power. So this tells me that this is bad and would need to be replaced.